Hey there, everybody. Today is Friday, December 23rd. I was gonna come out here and shoot a video during the heavy rainstorm that many of us experienced, but as I was making my way out here, I heard this big crack, and this tree, it's really not the whole tree, but this piece of tree that you see in front of you, cracked and fell off of another tree. It also took the one going that way down with it. So I just kind of turned around and walked back inside, and the light is kind of fading, but um, you know, better safe than sorry is what I say. And the woods on days where the gusts are hitting up to 60, 65 miles an hour, not going to be so great. But all of those disturbances will bring regenerative opportunities. You can see some of the ancillary damage right here. But yeah, that was a little over 3 inches of rain inside of 24 hours. It's still kind of going, but the inundation feels like validation. This section where we're standing is the main tractor path here, and the rain is picking back up, but you can see that rather than sheeting this way like it used to, just the leveling out of this path and making it a standard grade across the span of this 8 to 10 feet or so, made it so that the wash from the hill coming down did not come straight down like it used to. It is now moving down this way, which is okay. This will make certain portions of down here a little bit swampier, but I see opportunities in the direction that this water is moving. For example, we could create tracks or a way to bring the water further down this way. Although, honestly, 3 inches in 24 hours is a huge storm, and I don't expect this kind of wetness to be the problem that it is very often at all. We're gonna just kind of pan slowly. You can see the pond. The lower pond is nearly full. It is reached its overflow, its first of overflow capacities, which drains it into the channel, the creek back there. But instead of all sheeting this way and then filling up that area, we have these pools, as I alluded to in our last little video. And you can see just how much water we are holding. But our paths did not budge. Our Waru section over there, we're about to make our way to, and I'm pretty happy with it. Everything is looking pretty good. We'll take a little step over this and see what we've got going on back here. And so here we are. You can see the pools, and a little bit of water motion right in there. I'll zoom for a moment so we can take a peek. That right there is evidence of the water still traveling down. Hang on. So all of that water is coming from up this way, and what it's doing is it's interacting with each of these bumps in between the dropped hay, and each of these bumps will hold a little bit of water as it infiltrates. But we do have berry bushes planted in this row here. You can kind of see a raspberry over here. Let's take a little peek. Yep, lots of raspberry. And for those of you who've been with us for a while, you'll know that there are some very, very tiny aronia seedlings planted in here as well to take advantage of the sunlight coming through here. But so each of these steps just slows some of that water down, and it is an easier time. And with the grade of this path here, the water is slightly more apt to move into these spaces and then filter through to this space where we're standing, and then filter through to that space behind us, which I haven't hayed. And so right here at the base of where the walkway starts getting taller to accommodate the construction, you can see the water pooling. So we have a proof of concept that this will at least function close to how I thought it would as I was watching the behaviors of the water in my landscape and thinking about the best way to capture those energetics to grow more things. It's not really, at least in our site design, it's not really about imposing our design on it. It's more about nudging the patterns of the landscape to a more predictable and cohesive way of management. And so each of these little swampy bit areas that I have, we're going to monitor and we'll take advantage of them. But there's a few more things back here, so let's take a look at some other things that didn't fail during this storm. I think the facet of our design and integration of it into our landscape that I was most concerned about were these beaver berms, the beaver dam analog berms in our hillside. And between the weight of the snow, which was enough to break shear pins in a snowblower and throw out backs, and the added weight of all of the rain that came down, between those, I honestly did expect a little bit more in the way of what we see here. And so this area right here, you can see that there's the kind of crisp line, flat, and then you can see these tumbles. And there really are fewer of them than I anticipated when I saw warnings of this storm system coming through. And I'm very impressed. We built them to, I won't call them exacting specifications, but we did build them with the best intentions and information we could. So we made a wide base, at least 3 to 5 feet wide. We gave them lots of drainability in the form of the sticks. And then in packing it down with the leaves and the compost and the wood chips, yeah, it feels real sturdy. I'm standing on it right now. I'm on the edge of this berm. And if I push too hard, I think it will give. But we'll let it go. Probably bring in some more compost. You can see that this is sunk a bit between this walkway and in here, whereas this one is much more uniform and level. So I'm wondering if the compost that we did spread on the one down here was a little too fine and possibly escaped in some of the melt and runoff, but I don't see traces of it in those wood chips. Let's take a look at the duck pond. So right in here we have the duck pond. The brownish color is from a number of leaves up that way, where a main source of ingress for the pond is. And so those are a lot of leached tannins that have colored it that color. But our big concern was whether or not the overflow that you see right in here was going to function appropriately, or if the pond would backfill more in here. And so I am pleased to report that the slight spillway that you see just past those rocks over there is working perfectly as intended. It hasn't given way, it hasn't bust loose, and it hasn't eroded completely, even though I did see the girls billing at it earlier, as though they wanted to free all of this water. And so I'm happy with it. I think that once the soil is workable again, we're going to necessarily put in possibly just a straight piece of piping in the typical like L shape, where you have your outflow pipe below and you have the inflow of the pipe set at the maximum height you want for your water body. But now that I know that this section here spills out correctly and does what I wanted it to do, which is to percolate through this back ridge here and then slowly diffuse out to this space here. We have the apple trees just slightly uphill from here, though one of them is almost certainly dead at this point. But then this berm here will catch the overflow from those pond and the uphill slope and the roof catchment off of the house. And at the moment, we have some elders and some willows planted in here to take advantage of that fertility and moisture. And so I'm really feeling pretty good about the way that the water systems are tying together in this landscape now. It used to be, when we had a large melt or rain event in the winter, when we first took over the property, that this whole section was several inches deep in water, and you could sink an inch or two. The whole place kind of like that, where it's just muck and swampy. And by collecting it in the pond behind us, and by creating areas of high infiltration and carbon-rich materials to soak up this moisture, we're able to have a more walkable space. We're able to have more functional water management, and I'm pretty pleased. I have a few things left to do before the sun goes down and those cool temperatures really come to bite us. But, yeah, I wanted to put this up because I'm very excited about how all this is going, and because I will be kind of busy with family stuff, as I assume many of us are this time of year. And so, yeah. For all you folks out there, thanks so much for coming by and giving us a watch. I hope whatever you celebrate this season, that you've been having a great one, or are looking forward to a great one. Ours will likely be spent doing some debris cleanup and restacking and who knows what else. But hey, at least for the moment, I can see where my cuttings are again. I can see a lot of what's going on, and my hope is that there is enough ambient moisture in the air and in the system so that when this freeze comes, and I've heard from other folks that are west of us that the freeze has been very rapid, occurring in the span of a few hours, which is not long enough for these droplets to dry or necessarily even shake off, but this amount of moisture that you can see might just be enough to protect the delicate buds on some of our trees from the worst of the freeze damage, similar to how an orchard or a tree nursery might spray before an overnight freeze and create that ice shell that protects and insulates the cells beneath it. So, yeah. Till next time, everybody. Thanks for watching. Happy holidays.